Good morning students. Today I am going to discuss about a very important topic, micturition reflex. In today's video I will be discussing about innervation of the bladder, Systematogram, and then the important topic, micturition reflex. So regarding innervation of the bladder, it is mainly innervated by sympathetic as well as parasympathetic. The main nerve which is involved for micturition is parasympathetic, pelvic nerve mainly, sacral, S2, S3, S4. Sympathetic innervation is by L1, L2, L3, which is going via inferior mesenteric ganglion, and the nerve is hypogastric nerve. So innervation is by sympathetic, parasympathetic, and you can also remember this is external urethral sphincter and it is usually supplied by somatic. So pudental nerve, and external urethral sphincter which is usually voluntary and that is supplied by somatic. So this is not autonomic. These both are coming under autonomic. This is somatic which is pudental nerve. That is also from S2, S3, S4. That also you can remember. So this S2, S3, S4 is somatic division, which is pudental nerve. This S2, S3, S4 is pelvic, that is parasympathetic. So this is autonomic, this is somatic. Now, before going to micturition reflex, I will explain about the Cystometrogram so that it will be easy. So see here, this is a graph, Cystometrogram, and it is nothing but the relation between intravesicular volume, that is the volume in the bladder, and the intravesicular pressure. The pressure within the bladder and the volume inside the bladder. The relation between the two values is called Systematogram. So x-axis, the volume of the bladder comes, intravesicular volume. Y-axis, the pressure inside the bladder. See here, I will name it as 1A. So see here, for example, when there is no filling of bladder, the volume is 0. Obviously, when there is no bladder filling, the pressure is also going to be 0. So 0. And as the volume increases from 0 to 50, you can see here the pressure, intravesicular pressure. So as the volume increases from 0, the intravesicular pressure increases. But you can see here around 80 to 900. From here, what you see here, very, very important point, please listen, 1B. Now what happens here from around 100 to 150? So this 150 is a landmark. I will tell later. So from here up to 400, you see the volume has increased, 100, 200, 300, the bladder is getting filled. But what happens to the pressure? Constant. The pressure remains same. So this phase is 1B. Once your bladder is filled with 400 ml, above 400 ml, whatever is going to be filled, you can see the pressure, sudden rise in pressure. This is 2, phase 2. So Systematogram has 3 phases. Phase 1A, 1B, 2. 1B is constant. In spite of increase in volume up to 400 ml, the pressure remains same. Now here the question comes which many students get confused. How come the volume is increased but the pressure should increase? But why the pressure remains same? So here comes law of Laplace. Law of Laplace, very, very important, which says that P is equal to 2T by R. This you will be knowing. So R is radius, T is tension, P is pressure. So now what happens here, as the volume is increasing from 100 to 400, just see in the diagram. Imagine this is the bladder. So the volume is increasing. So what we expect? As the volume inside the bladder is increased, the pressure should increase. But actually what happens here, just note it down. Yeah, as the volume increases, there is stretch. And because of the stress, the bladder itself is enlarged. Very, very important. So instead of this, the bladder may be coming like this. For just understanding, I am telling here. Yeah, this is because of stretch. So the bladder which was like this, because of this 100 ml to 400 ml, the bladder is getting filled. What we expect is the pressure should increase. But what happens? The bladder size itself is enlarged because of the stretch. So what happens to the radius? That's what I am asking. So radius is also increased, tension is also increased. So numerator is increased, radius is increased. That is very important. So what will happen to the pressure? Above is increased, below is increased. So the ratio remains same. That's the reason from 100 or around 90, 100 to 400. This otherwise the phase 1B pressure remains same. But it holds good only up to 400. Once the volume is more than 400, the bladder cannot stretch. It has a capacity. It can't keep on being stretching. It can't keep on being stretching to get ruptured. So once the 400 is reached, the threshold level is reached, the pressure starts rising. Now let me come to the main topic, micturition reflex. So what happens here, as the bladder gets filled with urine, as the volume of the bladder increases, there is stretch. Yes, accepted. This stretch causes, this is afferent nerve. So this is afferent, which is going to the spinal cord, which is the center. So now I am explaining about micturition reflex. So as the bladder is getting filled, there is stretch, and this stretch of the bladder, and this stretch stimulates the pelvic nerve. Afferent nerve, which is going to the spinal cord, is mainly pelvic nerve. S2, S3, S4, 3 sacral, S2, S3, S4 sacral, pelvic nerve is afferent. And once this afferent reaches the spinal cord integrates and then sends the efferents. So once the spinal cord receives the afferent in the form of pelvic nerve, it integrates and then it sends the efferent. It sends efferent, and efferent is also S2, S3, S4 parasympathetic. So as the bladder is filled, there is a stretch. This stretch causes the S2, S3, S4 pelvic nerves to reach the spinal cord, and spinal cord is the center for micturition reflex, and from the spinal cord the efferents come in the form of parasympathetic. Now what this parasympathetic does? Obviously we know it causes micturition. So what should happen? This is detrusor muscle, this is trigone, inverted triangle. So the detrusor muscle contracts. The detrusor muscle contracts. So now it's easy. The detrusor muscle is contracts, and there is another sphincter here, internal urethral sphincter. So internal urethral sphincter will relax. Trigone also will relax. What this parasympathetic efferent does? Contracts the detrusor muscle and relaxes. So see here, this is contracted. So what this parasympathetic does? Contracts the detrusor muscle and relaxes the internal urethral sphincter. So it helps in micturition. So this is a simple micturition reflex which I explained. But there is external urethral sphincter. So what this external urethral sphincter does? It is not under autonomic. It is controlled by somatic. I already explained. So it is somatic, which is put until now, again S2, S3, S4. So this S2, S3, S4 is for pelvic nerve, for detrusor muscle. This is somatic for external urethral sphincter. Note it down, it is voluntary. So far all the afferent which I was mentioning is involuntary. This external urethral sphincter is voluntary, under the control of somatic nerve. So for example, if micturition reflex, and I told you to note this, please note it down. I told you this 150 ml landmark is the initial volume where the micturition initiation to arch, or the initial volume with which you can have the feeling to micturate. The arch to micturate is called initial volume, which is 150 ml. This 400 ml is the threshold where when appropriate situations occurs, you will urinate. So note down this 150 and 400. But still, if you are not, still if the micturition, for example, the bladder is filled, the detrusor muscle is contracting, internal sphincter is relaxing because of this afferent. But still, if you are in a classroom, or if you are in a CME program, you are not able to go outside, so you don't want to micturate, the situation is inappropriate. Then what happens? This external urethral sphincter will be constricted because of pudendal nerve. So this is voluntary. This is under your control. And once the class is over, this pudendal nerve will be inhibited, and the external urethral sphincter will relax, and you can micturate going to the bathroom. Now coming to the higher centers, mainly two are there: pons, midbrain. So pons is usually stimulus for micturition. Midbrain is inhibitory. Higher centers which control this micturition reflex, the center from the pons is facilitatory or stimulating the micturition. Facilitatory, better word. And the midbrain is inhibitory, or if you want, you can draw here. Pons is facilitatory, midbrain is inhibitory. And to make it complex, even the cortex has control over this both. It can inhibit this, it can inhibit this. So the cortex is the superior. So cortex can inhibit this spontaneous center or cortex can inhibit this midbrain center depending upon the situation. So pons is facilitating the micturition reflex, midbrain center is inhibiting the micturition reflex, but they both can be controlled by cerebral cortex. So micturition is a spinal reflex under the control of higher centers. So to quickly summarize, everything is there. So I explained about the innervation of bladder, sympathetic, parasympathetic, about the Systematogram, 3 phases 1A, 1B, and why in 1B the pressure remains the same in spite of increase in volume, especially the law of Laplace, and the main concept micturition reflex. Afferent is pelvic nerve, efferent is parasympathetic, and the external urethral sphincter is somatic, which is voluntary, under your control. And now the question comes, the final question, sympathetic, which is L1, L2, L3. Does sympathetic play a role in micturition? You can pause the video and try to answer. It is like a question. Does sympathetic play a role in micturition? So the answer is sympathetic does not play much role in micturition reflex like parasympathetic, but the very important function of sympathetic is it prevents, note it down, retrograde ejaculation. So for example, whenever the semen is being ejaculated, to prevent the backflow of semen, this internal urethral sphincter, to prevent the backflow of semen, the sphincter has to be closed, and that is done by sympathetic. So sympathetic does not play a role in micturition reflex, but it prevents the backflow of semen during the ejaculation. So that is a very important function of sympathetic. So with this, we will complete this video presentation. Hope it is very useful for you, very important topic. In next video, we can discuss about the other topic. If you like this video, please share this video to your friends, student circle, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe my channel. I am making a lot of videos recently. Thank you for patient listening. We will meet in the next video.